Hey, it's Ryan from the Option Income Advisor, and today I'm going to show you how to build your watch list of dividend stocks in particular. As we kind of get into this period where the market's getting a little more volatile, I think people have been calling for or certainly are fearful of a larger market downturn. I'm not in that camp. I don't believe we're going to have probably much more downside from here. Right? We've already gotten. From peak to trough already, we've already gotten, over a 5% drawdown, which I think was kind of a key moment because we haven't had one in a while. And those things sometimes tend to be self-fulfilling prophecies, whether it was this, kind of liquidity crunch with this business down in China or some other catalyst, right? There's always something that you could point to throw the market a little bit lower, but sometimes it's just a revaluation of the market, and I think that's kind of what we're having, setting ourselves up, through this seasonally weak period anyway, kind of September, October timeframe into, again, kind of setting us up for I think a rally into year end. So the best thing we can do right now. If you believe that, right? If you believe that we are probably heading a little bit higher, is really get our stock watch list ready, right? And helping you kind of formulate that is what I'm going to do today, right? I'm going to show you some metrics that I look at to build these lists, and I'm going to use our Option Advisor platform to do it. But there's many different stock screeners out there that you could probably come up with a good screen for. So again, it's just, I think driving home the importance of having your watch list is kind of, it's one of the keys to success, right? You want to have this kind of predetermined, list of stocks that you want to own, because that's what helps you either buy stocks at the right prices or, again, right cash secured puts along the way as the VIX spikes. This is a good time to obviously write cash secured puts as well. And if you're fearful of a little bit more downturn, right, there's different things you can do, as you enter the market, whether it's, just buy a little piece of a stock here and, also write a put so that you can maybe buy some a little bit lower if it goes lower. And just to kind of manage your risk, a little bit from that perspective. So let me get into, again, just the format and metrics I'm using to build a watch list, and then we can kind of go from there and talk about a few different metrics. So I'm going to show you let me just get a tool here. I got my highlight tool. Okay, so this is on our Option Advisor Income Advisor website. So this is a screen that I've created, but I'm gonna get into the filter so I can kind of show you what I used. But you can see the output here is that it's pulled 37 stocks. So I've screened for 37 stocks that have met a certain criteria, and that's kind of what I'm using as the base of my watch list here. And so let me get into that. So anytime, again, you're building a watch list here, you can always edit the filters. If you want to create a new screener, this is kind of how I created this one anyway. I just, I was on a different screener and I just hit new screener. All your screeners always show up here, so you can see I've got a bunch of different types of screens. And, that's always something I reiterate with you as well, because your whole goal of even screening for stocks is just to build a master list, right? If you can get 50 to 100 stocks on a list, and these are stocks that you might want to own, right? You're creating this filtering process, from all these stocks out there. That way you're not always overwhelmed when the market trades down. You're like, I've got my list, right? I've got my list of stocks that I would potentially want to own. And so it just makes it easier to do the research at that point to kind of build that list. So we use screeners to obviously find stocks to get onto our master list, right? And so when you screen for something, it's not that you take every single stock on the list or add every single stock to your watch list. You want to go and do some additional research, but screens are a great way just to kind of filter out the noise and kind of pull again stocks that you think might make sense. So this one is our dividend stock shopping list that I called. that I titled it. And so these are the filters. So when I click edit filters, it kind of shows you what I have and kind of what I've built into this particular screen. And so let me get the highlight out here. So what I was looking for here is large cap dividend stocks. And so I set a minimum market cap of $10 billion. And, and that just kind of cuts out, some maybe mid cap stuff and certainly micro cap stuff that you wouldn't, you may not want on the list. And when we have pullbacks like this and volatility, I think you probably want to err on the side of quality. And so by putting this filter in for market cap, I think you're getting larger companies that, in theory, should be a little bit more stable as we have a pullback. Dividend yield, you can see I've set a minimum of 2% and then a maximum of 8%. And so I'm not looking for crazy high, dividend yielding stocks. Sometimes those are value traps anyway. Again, what I'm looking for is a core base of dividend stocks that I think I would, potentially like to add to a portfolio. And so I think that sweet spot probably is in that 2 to 8 range. And you'll see, these 37 stocks that we've got on the list have an average dividend yield of about 3.2%, right? So there's some on the low end of 2%, and there's some certainly, in the mid range of that, and then some towards the higher end. Dividend growth in years, again, you can kind of pick different filters here. But I just said 5 years. I want to, again, if I'm looking for a stable stock at this point in time, like I want one that has been growing its dividend, right? Not one that maybe, during the pandemic had shut its dividend off or, at least held it flat. I'm looking for ones that have certainly been growing their dividends and been consistent with it. And then this also kind of cuts out, so dividend growth 1 year. This says I want something greater than 0. So again, this kind of shows that over the last year, every stock that comes up on this list will have raised their dividend in some positive way. And then rankings and ratings. Again, this is kind of, I guess, proprietary to our screener here, but it's not. It's certainly not rocket science. What I've done here is I've created different kind of segments of how to rate stocks. And so you can see I've got dividend, safety, value, momentum, liquidity, volatility, and risk. And then I've got a pullback indicator. And what I've done here is I've just created percentile rankings. And so it goes from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, and kind of based on the metrics that go into each one of those categories. It ranks all the stocks in the universe, and we've got about 750 stocks in our universe against each other, and then it provides a percentile ranking for them. So anything, say, below 5 is in the lower half, of the percentile ranking, and then again anything above that would be in the higher percentile ranking. So a 10 would be in the top 10 percent of all stocks within that category. And so what I like to do with these screens is basically say, I'd like to get kind of an above average rating for all these kind of key rating metrics at a minimum across all of these metrics, right? So I'm looking for stocks that have at least an above average rating for all of these metrics. So you can see what I've done, I've just set a minimum. So I've got dividend rating, minimum of 5, safety rating, minimum of 5, value, liquidity, and then volatility risk. And so I didn't put any pullback parameters in here. So, I mean, you can see right here, we've got percent below 52-week high. Sometimes if I'm looking for stocks that have pulled back quite a bit, you can actually screen for that. But for this particular screen, I just wanted to pull up stocks. And even if they're overpriced right now, I want to, take a look at them so they're on my screener. And so that's why I didn't set a metric there. But see, so it's a pretty simple screen if you look at it. Again, I'm just looking for above average metrics, dividend yield 2 to 8, some simple, dividend growth metrics, and then just a market cap, above 10 billion. So let's take a look at the 37 stocks that pulled up on this list, and then you can see. I'm just gonna cancel that out. So typically what you do if you change those filters, you just hit view results, and it would obviously change the results if we changed any of those. But you can see what I've got here is I've got the dividend yield, or I've got it sorted by dividend yield highest to lowest. So you can see we've got several stocks here above 4% dividend yield, and it's all stocks that you've probably seen. But the nice thing about what's pulled up on here, again, this is from a quality perspective, right? We're looking for quality dividend stocks. These all rank, above average on all of our key metrics. And so you can see the way I've kind of got this table set out, and if you're a member, you can kind of move these around and kind of customize this for you, and you can kind of toggle the different columns and stuff. But so what I've done here is I've got the dividend rating here, and so you can see it's all either yellow or green. So you could sort by that if you wanted to. You've got what I've put on here is I've added all kind of the dividend metrics. So I've got dividend growth in years, and then 1, 5, and 10-year compound annual growth rates, and then I've got the payout ratio, so you can kind of quickly see the strength of those metrics and kind of why those ranked out pretty highly. And then as you scroll over, you've got your safety, value, volatility, pullback, and liquidity rankings, and as well as the strike zone kind of metrics if you're looking to sell cash secured puts here. So from here, what you do, right, is you find stocks that kind of meet your criteria. And look, this may be one of those screens where maybe you do add most of these stocks to your list, but you can see any of the ones with hearts, kind of highlighted right here, are ones that I've kind of already put on the list. And so, again, this is a process, right? You screen for stocks, you kind of filter out the noise, and then you go dig into each of these a little bit deeper to figure out, which ones do you want on your list, right? And you can always, anytime you're in a screen format here, you can always click on that link, and it'll take you right to the stock profile for that stock. So then you can dig in deeper, right? Because each one of these metrics, these rating metrics, the information on that go into these metrics are on this stock profile somewhere, right? So if you're kind of questioning, why does this have a safety rating of 5? Well, we can go down here and say, okay, the safety rating's based on, the historical trends, the balance sheet strength, things like that. So you can kind of get an idea of kind of where you're at. Same thing with like valuation. Here's all our valuation metrics we use. Momentum. Here's all the momentum metrics we use. So you can always get a good sense. Dividend. This dividend summary's got all of the metrics that we use that go into that ranking. So this is I think a good tool again. As you're screening for stocks, if you wanted to add it to your watch list from here, you could always click add and find your watch list. That one's already on our watch list, and then you can just click right back and kind of figure out which stocks you want to add to your list. So once you've got again this list created, and let me just show you how easy it is. So Bristol Myers, for example, and you can sort this list. So maybe we're looking at stocks that have a low RSI, for example, right? So we can sort RSI from lowest to highest, and in theory, an RSI is a relative strength metric that when you're under 30, it shows that it's in an oversold situation. So that's one technical indicator that we sometimes use. So maybe that's one that you want to say, okay, well look, we've got a lot of these on the list already, but Bristol Myers, that heart's not filled in, so we don't have it on our list yet, but that's got an RSI of 20, for example, right? So let's add that to our list. If you don't have a list created, you can create one just by typing in there, but you can see I've got this list called top dividend stocks. I'm just going to add that to our list. And so how do we get to our list once we've created it? So here's our list called top dividend stocks. How did I get to this? So now you go over to Watchlist, and you can see any watch list that you create will show up here, and you can create as many watch lists as you want. But this is our top dividend stock watch list, and so these update every day with new data, right? So you can kind of keep track of these stocks and kind of how they trade, the way I use these watch lists, right? And this is why, when these big market sell-offs happen, it's important to have these watch lists, because these are already stocks that you've kind of pre-screened that you want on your list. And so now you can sort by, say, like a short-term return metric, like a 1-week return or a 1-day return, and you can see what has pulled back the most. And then you take a look at those stocks individually to say, okay, well, Goldman Sachs, for example, has pulled back almost 8% this week. It's about 11% off its 52-week high. This might be a stock that we want to look in for a potential purchase or for a put, right? So this is where you decide. Again, this is kind of based on your overall view of the market. Again, I don't think we're going to go down too much more from here. Can we get down to a 10% level? Maybe, right? If you're looking at the S&P 500, they keep showing the 50-day and 200-day moving average, right? We've broken through the 50-day a little bit. The 200-day is right around 4,100, a little bit above that. That actually gets you right to about 10%. So, is that in play? Maybe, but I don't think we're going to go, anywhere near, or I should say we might go near that, but I don't think we're going to go anywhere below that. So I think that's kind of your, mentality, if you will, of where do I think the market can go, and then it gets into which stocks do I think, as the market trades higher through the end of this year, which stocks do I think are going to trade higher, right? And so I think what's been working and what will probably work into the end of the year is this kind of cyclical economy growing situation where I think these stocks, as we near the peak in COVID, and we get more antiviral drugs out there created that are already in the mix, you get more people vaccinated, you get more people going back to life, normal life. I think all of these cyclical stocks will do well. So your industrials, your materials, financials should do well as interest rates, continue to go up. And then I think there's based on where valuations are, I think there's probably an argument to be made that maybe the mega cap growth stocks continue to do well also, right? That's a big part of the market. So those are the kind of two things I'm looking at. So I'm watching interest rates from the high growth perspective, because I've always told you that you should have a mix of dividend stocks and growth stocks, in your portfolio. And so as I'm looking at just dividend stocks right now for you, I'm going to have a tilt towards some of these cyclical dividend stocks that I think could actually do very well and might have some upside going into year end. So, you're not just choosing these stocks in particular for the dividend, you're choosing them for the dividend and potential upside going into year end. And so when I look at, again, a watch list like this, and I'm looking for stocks that have pulled back, that is one metric I look at to say, okay, I know this stock has pulled back, so let's actually dig into it now and figure out whether or not we want to own it. So you can see Goldman Sachs has great ratings across the board. It is an expensive stock from a stock price standpoint, right? It's trading at almost $400 a share, and look, it's not too far off its peak, right? It's had quite a good run as the stock chart shows here. But again, this is one that I think that you could probably sell a put on, and I think it makes sense from that perspective. So what you can also do from here is create a put watch list of stocks that you might want to sell puts on. And so right now I'm kind of in that tweener stage where I'm still looking at some October options, which expire on the 15th, and then also looking at some November options. And so as I'm looking at the cash secured put, for example, I may look at, and again, this one reports earnings in 23 days. So even the October 15th option has earnings risk. You can see that highlighted in red. And so anytime I'm looking for a put specific transaction, and again, I'm taking these off my watch list. That's why it's so important to create these watch lists. and hopefully you're kind of seeing that and how this progression, happens. As if you've got your watch list of stocks and you've got a watch list of options, you are always prepared for market downturns, right? And I can't push that fact enough. Like, you need to be prepared for market downturns, and the way you prepare is to have your watch list ready. And folks, this doesn't take very long. I mean, you can see, you can do a screen very quickly. You can add things to your watch list very quickly. You want this stuff in place, and you don't necessarily want to do it the day before, or the day after you've had a big downturn. I mean, you can, but it helps you kind of stick to your plan if you've got you've got these watch lists already created. So, what I would be looking for here, again, because we've got earnings risk in both, I may just take one of these shorter term options. But I'm looking for 1% on average for our base strategy. So if I look at this, I'm looking for one in the strike zone. We've got this down in the 330 range. I can still get the 1% average monthly yield. It's actually 0.8% over 24 days, but it works out to 1% on an average monthly basis. And we've got, a 12.2% margin of safety and a delta of 12. So I looked at it and I say, well, that delta is pretty low. I'm actually probably willing to take a little bit more risk, especially because there's other options up here. Let me just highlight these for you. All right, there's other options up here that make a little more sense, potentially just from a risk-reward standpoint, because this one has a delta of 16, so not much higher on the delta side. Still a decent margin of safety of 10%. And Goldman Sachs doesn't tend to trade down significantly. I think especially now that I think people are looking at the financials as one of those sectors that you would want to be in going into year end. We can get the 340 that's still in the strike zone. We'd get 1.1% over the 24 days, and an average monthly yield of 1.3%. So that risk reward, I think, makes a lot of sense, right? You're actually above your kind of target level. From a put premium standpoint, you're giving yourself an additional 10% margin of safety. Remember, this stock has already sold off 10%, but you're getting an additional 10% margin of safety there to take advantage of. And your delta, which is kind of the probability that it's going to finish in the money, is around 16. So this is the analysis I look at for all these stocks. But I just want to get a couple of these out there to show you how I use these watch lists to build I use the stock watch list to also build my option watch list, so I'm prepared, right? How do you prepare for selling puts or buying stock into a downturn? Well, you've got your list already created, right? And so take a few minutes, every day to just find things on your list that you can add and just kind of keep track and organize. So what I would do here, then, I would say this is one that I would like. I'm going to say Ryan's October cash secured puts, or how about Ryan's October dividend cash secured puts? All right, so then I know that's the list I'm looking at. So there you go. So I've now added this stock or this option to my list. And so if you refresh that page, and this is why this little heart highlight's important, because as you're looking at this in the future, well, I've already got this on my list, right? I know that heart's sitting there because I've got it on my list, and so now it tells me, I've got that stock on my list. Now let's go back to the watch list and say, okay, Caterpillar's traded down, 7.5%. This one's off 23% from its peak. So this one looks kind of interesting too, right? So I'll click on that, and I'll go over, check the metrics, check the chart out, but obviously go down to the cash secured put analysis. And again, if we're sticking with our October for now, I'm looking specifically at stocks that are in the strike zone. So this one does not report earnings within the October timeframe. So even better, right? All else being equal, if I can find an option that makes sense, within, or that doesn't trade earnings, then I'll take that. So here, again, we're looking at, just building a list. And this is how I come up with, all these trade alerts and things, trade ideas that I put out there. I mean, these all come from this option list that I have created, right? I'm just kind of pulling things off that list to kind of share with you, so that you can kind of get an idea of what I'm looking at. So I would say it would be between these two, the 175 and the 170. They're both in the strike zone. Caterpillar's trading right around 190. So having a decent margin of safety, again, this one's got a delta of 13, and this one's got a delta of 18. So not too far off. They're both still below 20, right? We have a max of, we won't go above 30 on our delta, but that's pretty comparable. And again, between an 8% and a 10% margin of safety, again, pretty comparable. This stock's already pulled back 23%. So on this one, I would probably, again, err on the side of accepting the higher premium because of how much this stock has pulled back, and because I believe that you're going to want that tilt into cyclical stocks. This is an industrial stock going into year end. So I feel like, let's take a little extra premium, if not buying the stock outright, right? So the other kind of trading kind of strategy you can put into place is, if you don't currently own Caterpillar, you take maybe a 25%, if you wanted to put X amount into each stock, and I always suggest you've got a max position size. But if you think about your position size for Caterpillar, maybe you take a quarter of the position now, buy the stock, and then take the rest of the capital and secure some puts at a lower price, just in case the market trades down a little bit, right? Because you never know in these volatile times. If we end up testing that 200-day moving average, you're gonna appreciate the fact that you've got some puts in there. So I think you can kind of straddle the fence, if you will, by owning some stock and then also selling the put. And that's kind of what I would do. And that's, again, why these lists are important, because it gives you ideas of which puts makes the most sense. And so let's go ahead and add that to the list. Let's add that one to the list. So remember, I already created that Ryan's October dividend stock cash secured puts. So we added that to the list, right? And remember, now if we refresh Caterpillar next time we go to that one, right, we're gonna see that one highlighted, right? So now how do we get to that watch list? Remember, we've got our stock watch list. That's our top dividend stock list that we've created. And now we've got our put watch list that says, Ryan's October dividend stock list. And we had only added 2 on there, but now you can see it's just a powerful tool to be able to keep track of the specific option contracts that you have, custom selected that you might want to trade in. And then you just kind of keep track over time. This database updates every night. So as the stock market trades up and down, these metrics that we look at that are important to us, right? The average monthly yield, the margin of safety, the deltas also change, right? And so you can, anytime you have free capital, and imagine having 15 to 20 on this list, you can immediately go in there and say, okay, well, I know which ones are the best today, and these are the ones I'm going to focus on, because you don't put all your money to work in one day, right? You kind of take your time and do 2 or 3 trades a day if you're trying to put a large amount of money to work. But sometimes you just have capital that freed up and you only have room for 2 trades, right? So those are the ones that you can extract from this list and say, these are the ones I want to focus on today. So anyway, that's kind of how we get from point A to point B to point C, right? Is you screen for stocks, use there's different screener software out there that I think is great for just removing the noise of the broader market and saying, here's the subset of stocks I want to focus on. And then from there, you want to create a master watch list, right? And whether you're just creating a watch list within your brokerage platform with a list of tickers, or if you have a platform like this where you can actually pull things onto your watch list, you want to create that watch list, because that's the shopping list that you want to kind of take with you into any market turmoil or volatility, right? If you've got that created, you feel comfortable. And then, going even further, if you're trading a cash secured put strategy or the triple income wheel strategy, pulling out those individual option contracts that also make sense, because then you're really prepared when that volatility spikes. you've got some things on your list that, make a lot of sense, and you've kind of predetermined those are good, stocks that you want to own, and based on your, view of the overall market, these are the different industry allocations that you feel comfortable with, and all that kind of stuff. So you can just see how important it is to kind of create these lists, and hopefully this was helpful to you to find some good stock opportunities. That's all I've got. Any questions, let me know. Take care.